the details that we have already covered. For example, we're not going to go through Global Forest Watch, and we're not going to look at the Global Forest Registry today. However, if you haven't done so, they are great websites to go through. The links are on the country profiles, and they are well worth a look. And if you'd like to have a talk through them, then please just get in touch with Anand, who'll put you through to myself, and I can talk you through them quite happily. Right, so as I said, today we're looking at 7 different countries. We're just going to pick out a few of the most interesting web links that we found. We're not going to go through in detail with the country profiles on all 7 countries. That would take far too long. But the countries that we're looking at in particular today are DRC, Cameroon, and Liberia. Ivory Coast, Central African Republic, Ghana, and Republic of Congo are other countries that we have done the profiles for. But in particular, those 3 countries we'll be looking at in more detail today. So if I share my screen. You will see, oh, apologies everyone, let me just try and get back to, you will see from here, so this is the TTF pages, and you can see down the right hand side the country profiles and some of the links that we've got. So as I said, today we're mainly focusing on DRC, Liberia, Cameroon, and touching on the other 4 countries as well. And next week, if you're interested, we are looking in particular at the Americas. So 4 countries within them: the US, Canada, Brazil, and Uruguay. So if we look at the structures of the profiles, they're all divided in roughly the same way. So initially we have an introduction, which just covers very briefly the forest statistics that might be of interest to you. For example, looks at the rate of deforestation and the forest cover. And there's all sorts of links and hyperlinks all the way through these the profiles, which hopefully, what we tried to do, Anand and myself, was set up the profiles so that they will signpost you to the right, or not to the right websites, but to websites that we thought were of high interest to you. And we're not by any means using these profiles as the be-all and end-all, but they are to be used as signposters. When we were in the process of developing them, the NMO as it was then, NMRO as it is now, very kindly looked at a couple of the profiles and were very positive in their feedback, saying that they would hope that the information contained within the profiles would greatly assist operators in when they were undertaking a risk assessment. And as long as you were using the links and the information contained within the links properly, and that you should be able to draw realistic conclusions on the risks posed by each of the countries. I mean, they said all sorts of other things as well, including the fact that, as always, risk is subjective and can be interpreted in different ways. But the ultimate aim of the profiles is to be able to support you and help you in signposting in websites that you might not have seen before or used before. Right, so going back to the profiles. As I said, we've got the introduction, we've got the UK imports by product group, and it's still coming, the key import and export data information. And in fact, the TTF data analysis has, I believe, in the last week, updated the data statistics, so they are now for 2013. So that will be, in the next few months, updated to the profiles, so that you'll have key products, key importing countries, key exporting countries. So it will just give you a overall knowledge on that.
I can give you an update on that, Lucy.
Oh, fab.
The actual UK imports by product group, that's still 2012, I think. We've got the 2013 data, we're just looking to get
analysing it, yeah.
And it's just an automated way of getting it up, so we're talking to our web guys about that. And also the key import-export data information is really about trying to get people to understand the risks of mixing in their supply chains within the countries that they're sourcing from. And again, we've got that data now. We just have to find an efficient way of getting it onto the system, and it's more of a technical issue than anything else at the moment. So we're just talking to, again, I have a web meeting with our IT guys, or our web guys tomorrow, to see whether we can get that up in the next week, 10 days or so.
Fab. Thank you, Anand. I mean, as you can see, we've got common trade species, so natural forest and plantation. And then it gets to the more interesting stuff, hopefully, for you guys, which is the two sections. One is the legal framework, and the other is the risk information. So what is new, in particular, for the African countries that we're looking at in the risk information? I think, firstly, the most important, one of the key websites that I'd like to point out is all about the voluntary partnership agreement. So if I go to, excuse me, I will go up here. So this is the website for the FLEGT facility. For anybody who hasn't got an overall understanding of VPAs, for example, someone coming in new into your company, VPA Unpacked takes out all the key messages and key information, and so it's a good starting point on the, if you just click into the red box. So here we've got latest news, and you can see just last week that a news article has been published on the Liberian VPA. And then over on the right-hand side, we have the VPA countries. So we are focusing on Africa. So if I click on Africa, it will come up, and you will be able to see instantly who are implementing and who are still in negotiation stages. On the left-hand side, you can go, you click in, and you've got more detail. So again, it gives you an overview of the country and all about the VPA process. It doesn't go into great detail at all. And in fact, the website that they've indicated here is currently not loading. It's for the Ministry of Forestry in Cameroon. So I think at the moment it's just a glitch. But in all of the VPA countries, they tend to have their link to their specific country website, which is a good way to find information. However, on this website, if you follow down, not only do you have specific news from Cameroon, which is very useful, but you also have the documents that you can download, not only legal documents, but also, as you can see, aid memoirs from large meetings such as road mapping working group meetings. So if we click into the VPA legal document, I think most importantly for you is the Annex 2, which is the here. It's the Legality Matrices, and it goes into details below of the type of criteria and the type of I will just find it, sorry. Here we go. So the type of criteria, the type of indicators that you then need to find, and then it refers to the legislation that's relevant. And this is useful for you guys, particularly because it's got, you know, what kind of verification documents should you be requiring from this. Now, if we go back, you will see that there are all of the VPA countries here. So it's a good way to start, and it's a good source of information in English that you know is going to be up to date. The partner countries' websites are sometimes not up to date, are sometimes not available, as I found out for the Cameroon FLEGT VPA website. So my first port of call, I have to admit, would be this website. I'm just going to close some tabs down because it's then easier. You can also subscribe for news for those VPA news, and that's a useful snippet of information. So it just comes straight to your email. What else have we got? So if we go to the WRI funded Forest Legality Alliance risk tool. So it doesn't say when it was updated, so just be a tiny bit wary. It does cover all of the African countries in the profile, bar the Ivory Coast. And then what's interesting, there are two most interesting things, I think, about the risk tool. Part of the information is hidden, which is a shame, but it's actually got in forest management. So there are 5 different tabs, all with different information on them. Contacts, as you can see, has got industry associations, but it's also got NGOs and government ministries. Normally has an up-to-date website, and it normally has a contact, sometimes an email. But for me, the most interesting part is the forest management tab. So you have to scroll all the way down. But so you've got the management overview, which again, I mean, you can see that there are lots and lots of overviews that you can get. Not only at the smaller introduction from our profile, but there are considerable overviews all over the place in all the different websites. It goes into the Corruption Perception Index Transparency, created by Transparency International. I mean, you can see it. So it's 2013. 2014 has been published. It hasn't quite been updated. So you just always have a think: is there more up-to-date information than it is showing me? I mean, other things of interest, it indicates here about the Global Witness and Resource Extraction Monitoring, REM. So good paragraphs, and you could just, if you have that spare 10 minutes to have a read through, then it is worth having a look. And then below the CITES agreement and the management information are the laws. And here they cover a number of different laws, and some of which have hyperlinks to the national law, either in the national language or the English version of the law, but they also just talk through the law and the key points and the key messages. And they do this not only for forestry law, but if I click down, it will be, I mean, you can see there are lots and lots of decrees and decisions and ordinances, but they also look at, so it's forestry law, processing and manufacturing law, trade law, tax law, and transport law. So if you ever have a law that you need to find out about, there are several websites that you can access, including the FAO Lex, which is absolutely on the profile, and you can get the web link from there. But if there is a country within the Forest Legality Alliance risk tool, it is certainly worth a look to see how they've analysed the law. Right, so if we go back to, I don't want to close the tab. If we go back to the legal framework, so there are lots of other websites that you can go onto. I'm not going to go through them in detail because we've covered lots in previous webinars. As I've mentioned just now, FAO Lex is a great website for all the legislation, and it's got a latest entries tab that you can find new laws, or you can search for your specific country. And then the Global Forest Registry map, which is currently being updated by NEPCON. So it's provided by FSC, NEPCON, and Rainforest Alliance. Over the next 12 to 18 months, it is going to be updated. There are going to be different indicators and therefore justifications for this, but currently NEPCON are saying use the old map. It's still in date. It does have a date of issue, which is really important. So you can see when it was last checked and reviewed. But certainly, Anand will be letting you know when the new version is published. You can find it, and if you'd like to have the web link, please let me know and I can send it to you.
I think it's just updated on an ongoing basis.
It is. I mean, Russia, for example, Dite was on the webinar last week, and she went through Russia with us. But it's being sent out for collaboration. So it's just being confirmed at the moment. So it is on the website, and it is. Some countries are available. None of the African countries are available at all. You have to be pretty lucky, I think, at the moment to have a country specific that's on the new website. But between the two of them, then it's a good tool. Right. The last section is the risk section. And I think that, again, I keep saying there are lots of websites that are new. So I'm just going to try and find the Congo Basin. Let me just try and find it. It's the Congo Basin Forest Atlas. Right. So I'll try and go back to the beginning, actually, so you can see how you get to all of this. Oh. Let's not. Right. So you click into it's almost identical to the Global Forest Registry. So you have a world map, you click into the country of interest. I've chosen Central African Republic. And you can see straight away that we need to change. You can change from French to English, so I will change it into the English. And you can see straight away that there are protected areas. The overview of the forest land allocation is in the bottom right-hand corner. So you've got national parks, you've got fauna reserves, and the red striped area is hunting zones. And you can see that there are no logging concessions, both allocated and non-allocated, in any part of CAR apart from the southwest corner. So if we zoom in, you can change. You can select your map theme. So on the right-hand side. So at the moment we're in the overview, and then you go to the nationality of the concession holders. You can go to the timber production in cubic meters over a 6-year period. So you can see which ones have been harvested more than others. You have the forest management system, and you can see just below the box, you can see the type of series. So it takes you through the agricultural, conservation, conversion, etc., etc. Forest management unit. So again, it's much more, you can see allocated and non-allocated. And if you click, let's try and click into, say, license 169, it will just give you a very, very small little table, and just in French, that gives you a little bit more detail about for example, the logging company, the allocation status, the capital origin, and then the taxable area, and then 2009 to 2013 timber production. So you can use this information if you know where your supplier is getting timber from in terms of a timber concession. You can track it down through there. So it's a useful website. It covers Cameroon, Central African Republic, as I've just shown you, Republic of Congo, and Democratic Republic of Congo, specifically for our country profiles. There are a couple of other countries that it also covers. And it's ongoing. It's WRI funded, USAID, and it's constantly being updated. You do have to be a little cautious about how often it is updated, but it's a useful and interesting website to have a look at. So Anand has also, we've updated a paragraph on the independent forest monitors. So there are, I'll take you through 2 of them. They're in French. It does say you can choose language. However, it doesn't click into the flag. There's no English on it. So currently it's just in French. This is one of the independent monitors. And interestingly, probably for you, is the publications. So you've got publications and reports, and then you can see the activity reports on the independent monitor in various countries, including DRC and Congo and Ivory Coast. Another website on an independent monitor is REM, and they have got have now trained up national independent monitors in various countries, and they run a very good training program. But again, if you want to find one of their reports, then this is it's on their website, and you can go through their reports and their projects, for example. But you can see that they've got their reports here. Other websites that you have include Comifac. I think this is Comifac. So the Comifac website is it's useful in that it tells you all about the member states. So you can click on one of the flags, and it will come up with again in French. But it will come up with information on each of the countries. So here, for example, we've got Congo-Brazzaville, or Republic of Congo. If you don't speak French, you just put it into Google Translate, and it comes up with a fairly good translation, I have to admit, in the Google Translate. And you can either do that through you just copying and pasting the text, or it doesn't come up very prettily, I have to admit. So I put in the Comifac website, changed it from French to English, and it comes up like this. However, I mean, if you click down, you can find the information here. So it goes through a little bit about. This is Cameroon. It tells you a few more web links that you can access more information about. It doesn't tell you what the information that you can gather from those websites, but it gives you those websites. And then, interestingly, it goes through some of the contacts that you can track people down through. So it's not only ministry people, but it's also, as they call it, focal points. So if you need any information, then these may be interesting people to get in touch with. And then further on down, it has their recent publications, and you can see that it is kept up to date. They have got April 2015 reports, so it's a useful website in terms of possibly getting up-to-date information on. Another website that is useful to some degree is it's ATIBT funded Legal Timber website. I mean, they've called it the reference point for information on the EUTR, and there are some interesting information on here. However, I mean, if you click on country sheets, you then have to select that. For example, we want countries. You can look at species, and then if you click on, so you select your country. I'm going to choose DRC. You'll see that it comes up with information on various things. It kind of poses questions. So is timber trade legal? And it tells you, it goes into not a lot of detail. You can see that it was updated 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. So none of the pages that I've looked at have been updated since then. Whether they will be updated in the future, I don't know. But what is useful for this website, and it sadly only shows on a few countries. I mean, for example, DRC. But if you go to key legality documents and click into it, it shows you what the permit should look like, which I think is a really valuable thing to have. So you can see instantly for some documents whether they look like they should look like, and you can you see if it's really a fraud or not, because you will be able to see, well, actually that's completely different. I think that would be a really powerful tool to have, and this in fact is the only website that I have found where they put key legality documents up.
There are, Lucy, there are others in the pipeline. This one, I believe, OTIBT are looking at updating it. I believe they've got some funding to update it, so they're looking at how to do that, and in collaboration with other things that are going on as well. So one example is that there's an TTF database that's being developed at the moment, funded by ITTO, so it's very much focused on tropical countries, and Congo Basin countries, but in its early stages of development. And I believe that effectively will have a complete list of forestry documentation, hopefully with examples like this on it.
Fabulous. That's actually, because I didn't find that and thought that would be a very powerful thing to have up your sleeve.
It's still in early development. I don't see it happening, being actually available till some point early next year, if then. That's a bit disappointing, but that's where they are.
But it's coming, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, in terms of using these type of websites and what members already get from their supply chain, a question that's always asked to me is veracity of documentation, and we can't tell you whether a document is credible or not. That's, I guess, one of your assessments that you have to undertake as part of your risk assessment, and you guys will have the most exposure to consistency of documentation that you get from your supply chain. And effectively, if what we think is, if you're getting consistent documentation with relevant signatures and it fits into your own supply chain, then that shows that there is a good degree of veracity in terms of what you can do in terms of reasonable due diligence. That's as far as you can go in terms of reasonable due diligence.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing I want to share with you actually is from Fern. So every 6 months, Fern do a VPA update. You can see it's just been released in June, a month ago, and if I click into it, it not only goes through each of the countries individually. I mean, at the moment, so they give they tend to do a little story at the beginning. Sometimes they don't. So this is all about the fact that it's been going on for 10 years. What has changed, and they've picked out seven countries and focused on civil society input into the BPAs. But if you move further down, you've got the country updates, and these are just this is where you can find the information about what's been happening over the last 6 months, what meetings have occurred, whether things have stalled, what's progressing very well, what's not going very well, because Fern are truthful, and they're not politically biased, so they are going to actually tell you what's been going on over the last 6 months for each of the VPA countries. So it's a good report to sign up to, and you can, I think, subscribe to their newsletter if you do that.
Yeah, I just want to second that as well. People in the trade in particular don't like tend to like reading NGO reports because they tend to see them as unsubstantiated, untruthful, or kind of very wild in some ways and other. But
Yeah.
Fern's information is pretty accurate, and I think also that they are fair. They see. It's interesting what's happened in the last 10 years or so in kind of forestry, with conversion becoming a bigger issue as well. And I think Fern, having started off as very much against logging or kind of industrial type logging, have softened their stance over the years and see the role that industrial logging now has to play in keeping forests standing, especially against other drivers of deforestation in a wider picture. I think they understand that much better and are much more supportive of trade's involvement in keeping forests standing, and the FLEGT process in particular. They're very supportive of.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually,
sorry, and just finally, they very much see the trade. They very much see how the T in FLEGT, in particular, the trade part, has been a key driver in some of the governance improvements that have happened in many of these countries. And without that T, they don't think that many of those Gs would have happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, taking that one step further, other NGOs that are named within the profiles often have useful reports to read. You may be giving quite stark points of view, but they're certainly of interest in some countries, and just might be useful for you as part of your due diligence to have a look at.
From a due diligence process perspective, it's important to show that. I think
Yeah.
It's clear. It's so important to show that you've digested some of that information, but then how you then react to that, you can then show your rationale about whether you agree or don't agree, how that's affecting your specific supply chain.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. So they are really the main websites I'm going to go through. I mean, as I keep mentioning, because I think it's a fantastic tool, the Global Forest Watch tool is phenomenal. There's so much, and every time I go back into it, I just learn more and more. If anybody would like to go through that with me, I'd be delighted to. Equally, WRI have said that they will hold another webinar. They've already hosted one for the TTF members, but they are very willing to show TTF members how to make the most of that website and how it could work for trade. So please get in touch with Anand should you wish them to do another webinar.
Yeah, I'm happy to set one up. Last time we had something like 10 or 12 people set up, and only 2 turned up on the webinar. So we want to make sure that there's people interested and signed up, and who are committed to kind of going forward with that, rather than setting something up and only 2 people turn up to the webinars, which can be disappointing in terms of the amount of effort that myself and then others at WRI spend on that as well. They're very keen to get trade input because they want to make it as pragmatic and usable from a trade perspective as possible. So they're very much looking for further engagement from the trade, and how they use it and how they can then tweak it to make it more usable for trade as well.
Yep, exactly.
Lucy, just to cut in on you as well again, just one thing that's not on the country profiles, but I just wanted to make people aware, if you're not already, is that we're currently in a process to look at some DFID funding as well to look at some work. It's more specific work in some of these legacy countries, Africa in particular. So I've been in touch with one or two people on the webinar already just to get some of their thoughts. But at the moment, we're kind of thinking Ghana, Liberia, and Ivory Coast may be the three countries that we can help support in the FLEGT process, and their private sector, our private sector partners there in particular more. So we're just developing our concepts and ideas around that, which we'll be submitting to DFID on Monday, hopefully to be accepted as a concept and then taken forward, so that hopefully there'll be a bit more pragmatic ways you can get involved about influencing not just your supply chain, but wider trade in some of these countries going forward as well.
Great. Thank you. So to finish up, Anand, unless you have something more to say?
Nothing from me. Just
no. Okay.
Questions. I had a lack of questions in the previous webinars. So yeah, it'd be great to get questions or comments or feedback on how you found them today or how you intend to use them. Or I will be sending out some kind of feedback question. I will be getting a list of people who have attended and sending out a more structured feedback questionnaire later in the summer. But yeah, any feedback you have, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got one more next Tuesday, same time. So it's on Brazil, which will be really interesting. Uruguay, the US, which actually there's lots of information for the US, and then Canada. But you can see the country profiles. The date when they were last updated is at the top, so you can see basically it's future proofing. How up to date are they? And then keep an eye on the sustainability briefings, which are sent out by TTF. Look at and subscribe to the news articles from Manga Bay, for example. They come into my inbox on a daily basis, and they are really helpful to give you a good idea of various stories going on in the world. Look at the illegal logging info, so it's Chatham House's portal. And then local press. I haven't gone into detail about the local press. There are some newspapers that are indicated in the African profiles. We're hoping to find some more useful links. So we'll hopefully be updating that over the next in the near future. But those are the kind of websites that just keep everything really up to date and really spot on for your due diligence assessments. So the last thing
I would say that if you have anything else that you think that we're missing, then just drop me an email and send the links through, and we'll have a look at them and see how we can update that going forward. And the idea is we've got a broad set of information points now, and the idea is as we go forward, we'll keep them, just check on them to make sure they are relevant going forward, and also maybe try to get more specific information as we go forward, not specific information, but specific links. Our role, we believe, is not, your role is, your obligations are to do the risk assessment. Our role is to try to get you to make it more efficient for you.
Yeah.
That's what we've effectively done through the links. That's why we've done it as a portal site, so we can get you that information as efficiently as possible.
Mm. Yeah. So thank you very much. I hope you found it useful. I look forward to next week and hope you can join us. Once again, we'll be going through new websites and new links rather than you going through the ones that we've already talked about. All of these webinars are recorded. They will be put on the TTF website, so you will be able to track them down and just listen to some, or if you know that some colleagues have missed it, then they will be available to everybody. So thank you, and have a good rest of the day.